So I'm Zach Collins. I'm the tuba and euphonium professor at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and I am very excited about starting this project with composer Robert Litton to have a concerto for tuba and wind ensemble. And I thought it would be uh, maybe good for everybody who is involved in the consortium and people who might consider being part of the consortium for this concerto to get an idea of who we are, especially who Robert is, and what his ideas are for the concerto. So, um, Robert, first of all, thanks for considering this. And I have bugged you for a long time. I think 13 years or so.
Yeah.
While I was sitting on a park bench practicing my tuba at USC. So. Um, why have you agreed to write a tuba concerto?
Oh, I think because you asked. I think I always wanted to. It's just a question of the stars aligning, having the resources, having the venue, having the idea, having the time. I, I don't know. I think it was, we did, your group commissioned a piece out of me, I guess that was 2 years ago,
Uh-huh.
Toboggan.
Hmm.
And then you had me write another piece before that for the IUP group. And so, when we got together, there was only so many things we could talk about, losses and stuff, um, that we just naturally started talking about, okay, if we were going to do this, how would we do this and what would we do? And, once you get an idea, I don't know. It's hard to let go of it. Once I kind of had this idea of like, well, okay, what would I write for Zach? I can't just write a tuba concerto. I have to have something I want to express or say or a story I want to tell, and tuba concerto is the way to do that. And so when I had this idea of a bullfight, I thought, oh yeah, that could be fun. And then it was one of those things where I'm happy that this is going forward because I, I would I would probably have had to write the piece anyway. Because when I get that idea, I don't know, it just bugs you late at night. It bugs you in the shower when you're taking a walk, whatever. And eventually you have to do something with it. So I'm excited about this. I'm excited to get it out and move forward with it.
That's awesome. So you mentioned that you had this idea of the bullfight, and that gives you an idea of where you want to go with the piece. Um, I mean, as you mentioned, I have played several of your pieces, especially Toboggan, which is a piece you wrote for my trio, my horn, tuba, piano trio, and pretty consistently at the end of our concerts, that's one of the pieces that people mention that they connect with because it does tell a story. Um, is there something about the way that you write that that you feel like lends itself to telling a story? Is there a certain way that you write that that it does connect with the audience in that way?
No, I don't know. I'll leave it to other people to define my writing or try and explain it. I can just say from my observations that I tend to be a little more melodic and uh, in nature in my writing. I want melodies and tunes that are gonna connect quickly and I have a story usually I want to tell as opposed to compositional devices or crafts or techniques that I want to try out. And I don't know. I think that speaks to people. I think it allows people to connect with music. I think most music these days, certainly new music that's written, is a little more, for lack of a better word, intellectual or cerebral. It's going to appeal to people who have an understanding of kind of what the composer's doing musically or from a theoretical point of view, but to somebody who's in the dark about that and just it's a pure listening experience, they might kind of be left on the sidelines or not able to participate. in the experience. And that doesn't interest me so much. I kind of want the audience to hear a musical depiction of our hero or our story and be able to follow it along, without having gone through 6 years of music theory or something like that. Yeah, and just in the conversations I've had with total strangers at performances of my works, I don't know what it is, but oftentimes I get comments from people who completely lack the vocabulary to express it, just saying, I don't know what it was, but I really enjoyed your piece, or I really connected with it, or if it's a piece depicting something, they claim to have seen that, or been able to follow the story, or something like that. So I don't know that I can explain it. I just know that that's kind of how I approach every piece, and whatever gets through the notes seems to connect with audiences.
Yeah, it does. I mean, with Toboggan, it was really neat at one school in particular that I can think of, that we were on tour in Tennessee, and the audience had a pretty sizable number of non-music majors. It was the music appreciation class, so people who don't have musical training, and so it was really cool to talk with those students after the concert, and unprompted, they pointed to Toboggan because they could connect with that, and it felt like they were seeing this story being told with sound. So it seemed like it was one of those aha moments for them of, oh,
Yeah.
this is what music can do.
Yeah.
So your music absolutely has that
Well,
effect.
I think that's what drew me to film music in the first place, is that I was my early experiences in listening to like some of John Williams' music away from the film for the first time. I was astonished that just listening to the music, the entire film played in front of my mind's eye, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. And so I think that's kind of what where I head with music, is that even if it's not for a film, even if it's for the concert hall, I always have a story, or a imaginary film, if you will, that I feel like we can communicate through the notes. I also enjoy giving the experience you just described to the audience. At the same time, I always enjoy trying to find ways to delight and entertain and challenge the performers,
Mm-hmm.
so that the audience is having fun imagining, in the case of Toboggan, some little kid building a sled run, but the players are have some work to do, or enjoy. I try very hard to make the parts seem very user friendly. I want a player to play my music and think that I might actually know something about their instrument. And I enjoy putting little things in there where somebody who does know harmony or music history will get a little smile, or a little wink, or a little, yeah,
Absolutely.
okay, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun. Which is what I'm quite excited about, our piece, our bullfight. I was so excited about the fact that I could write was very vivid, in terms of telling a story to an audience, but at the same time just allow you to just tear it up, to just go to town on the instrument, and you've spent what, 30 years doing your scales. Well, let's take them for a spin. And I just thought it would really lend itself to fun virtuosic playing from all the sections. It would allow me to write little solos and features for some of the instruments of a band that might not always get the spotlight. um, and at the same time, a non-musical audience could really enjoy the melodic nature and the storytelling of the tune, and people with an understanding of the tuba, or music composition, could sit there and kind of be in awe of you, if we can be so bold. Um, I guess the lights there don't
Yeah,
think
we're
you're
trying to
audible.
save the world with our lighting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, like in orchestras, I love, giving solos to the second violins or the violas, people who are usually, pun intended, second fiddle to the other instruments. And so something like this, would allow me to give a solo to the tenor sax for, a couple measures or something, or, the bassoon can have the spotlight, or something like that. I imagine there's probably going to be a movement that is mainly tuba and percussion section, and people are sitting in the back of the orchestra who don't always get the feature. All of a sudden spotlights on. I just think it's just so rich in possibilities, and let me flex a lot of muscles, I guess.
So you just mentioned a couple of things, but this wouldn't. You've written several things for wind ensemble, wind band before. Um, what what are your experiences with writing for wind ensemble? How do you approach it? Is there anything that's different about writing for wind ensemble than orchestra or other settings that you consider whenever you're writing?
Yeah, I've been. Let's see. I've written a handful of wind pieces. A handful of them just kind of I put them in the shelf closet afterwards, and that's where they'll stay. I think my first attempts at wind band writing, if I looked closely and was honest enough, I would say that I was trying to write for an orchestra and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have it, so I just kind of forced it on a wind band. And it might have worked, it might not have worked, but ultimately it's not going to, it's going to sound like an imposter. It's just not quite right. Um, so I'm very excited about this one because the last two wind band pieces I wrote, I felt like I finally got it. I
Mm-hmm.
finally accepted the fact that it was a wind band and not try to make it be something else. And the last piece I did for Bruce Tychinski, the
Mm-hmm.
Three Dachshunds trombone wind band feature, I felt like, okay, I got it. Like this is a piece for wind band and trombone. I'm not I'm not wishing I had violins or cellos. This is I got it. I finally got it. And so armed with that, that experience and that confidence, I'm very excited to take this one for a spin and see what we can come up with, and to create a substantial piece that develops and takes us on a story. Feeling like I know what I'm doing, for lack of a better word. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that answers your
it
question.
does. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Um, can you you've mentioned some of the stuff that you've done. Can you give a short synopsis of your background of what you do in Southern California and the experiences that you've had so far?
Yeah, sure. I wanted to be a rock drummer, and middle school and high school I was in a garage band playing Rush tunes all day. And then towards the middle or end of high school, I started paying attention to film scores and thought, well, maybe I should. That appeals to me. Maybe I should see what this classical thing's all about. I played in the San Francisco Symphony Youth Orchestra for about 5 years, and it changed my life and opened up classical music and all the wonderful things that come with it. And I just made my decision that I was gonna, become a composer and go down to Hollywood and follow down the John Williams path until my own path became clear. So I decided that I wanted to go down the film music path, and so I was down in LA. We went to USC, and I met you there. And I've just been down here ever since. I write music for films and video games, and then I also orchestrate for other composers on films and TV shows, and even a handful of rides for Disneyland. And then I balance that between commissions for chamber works and concert music and stuff like that. Um, so
Fantastic.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time to have a chat about things. And my plan is, as we go forward, you and I, as we initially started talking about this, we talked about how it might be neat to every now and then peek over your shoulder and talk about how the creation of the piece is going. Um, and I know from my experience with you that you are genuinely interested in collaborating with people and seeing this piece come to life, not just for the premiere, but but going on. But we want to start uh, that idea as you're creating the piece, kind of checking in and just seeing how things are progressing, and then as we start to put the piece together with the band, give everyone who's part of the consortium a glimpse into what's going on. So um,
Yeah,
we'll chat and get back together again um, at some point and talk about where things are going. Sound good?
I look forward to it.
Awesome.